Hello, 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 my friends. It has been a while. It's Catherine here from Sacred Heart Alchemy and Divinely Inspired Feminine Leaders. So, I wanted to jump on today to share a little bit more about the offer that you may have seen, the post that I made just before this one will go live, and to really talk a little more about the process that got me there. And then I'd like to share something else special with you that's brand new, just like within the last half hour. So, as many of you know, I, back in March, decided that I was going to take a month off and take a little sabbatical. And it was just before I left to go to Peru. And I didn't say a lot about that, except that I was pretty exhausted and had kind of hit a wall and just really felt a need to step back. And I'd like to share a little more with you about that, because even though what I will share is my story, I always share with the knowing that we're all on our own journey, right? And we're all subject to the same energies, to the same shifts that are going on, in the astrology, in the larger collective. And so even if the details of my story don't match the details of your story, I trust that there are some nuggets in there that are sort of universal, right? That we can all feel into in one way or another. So I hope that my story supports you in some way, helps you to confirm that maybe some of what you're going through isn't just your own. While it is unique to you, again, there are parallels and there are commonalities within, if we're awake at all, what we're feeling during this time of so much change, so much shift, and so much that can feel both, I call this the ascension and the descension at the same time, right? Where we move up and have some higher vibrational experiences and some aha moments and some transformation. And then we also can drop very deeply into a need to do some healing around an old issue that perhaps we thought we had already resolved. But it's really critical to realize that that's all a part of the process. So many times I hear people say, or I even feel myself like, oh, I thought I was over with this already. Like, why is this coming back? Almost as though we had done something wrong and now we're being punished, or we didn't do it well enough the last time, or whatever it might happen to be. And I would really invite you to consider that as things continue to come up, that they really are opportunities that the universe is presenting to you, even though it feels like, oh, this again, to do whatever is left to be done to heal that particular emotion, that particular event, that particular experience or series of experiences, right? So whether it's bringing more compassion to yourself or someone else, more forgiveness for yourself or someone else, more love for yourself or someone else, what is being asked of you in this new revealing of perhaps an old issue that's showing itself to you again? So I hadn't planned on talking about that at all, but one of the things that I will talk about, which it just presented itself, is dropping more into this feminine flow of allowing and intuiting and letting spirit sort of guide the direction of the energy rather than having a fixed agenda. So that, I guess, was my doorway into what I thought I was going to be talking to you about. So, back in March, I had said that I was going to step back from social media, take a month or so sabbatical, and, just get some much needed rest. But what I didn't say was that just prior to that, for a 9-month period, I had been engaged and very involved and invested in all the ways, financially invested, energetically invested, emotionally and mentally invested, my time invested in a 9-month coaching program that many people have had success with, as people have in many of the different coaching programs that I've been in. Some people seem to really, master whatever's going on and jump into this, experience of it being, like a real springboard for them. And I went into this program really hoping for that, because there was a piece that drew me in around creating quizzes, which really appealed to me. And that's basically what this program was based on. So anyway, without getting into all the nitty gritty, basically I worked my ass off for 9 months. I did all the things. I did them on time. I did them in order to get, whatever the thing that was being dangled out in front of me, to get to the next level or whatever, and I eventually launched this thing that I had put so much time and energy in, and I'd like to say really excited, but honestly, by the time we got to the launch where I was putting it out into the world and inviting people into it, I was so exhausted and I almost felt like it was an old version of me. So guess what? It flopped. After all the time, all the money, all the investment in all the ways that are involved in putting a program together, learning technology, hiring people, right? Launching something in order to invite people in to work with you, because that's what you have to do. Or anyway, that's the model of what you have to do as a coach. Much different from a therapy model where people just call me up and say, hey, are you accepting new clients? Or, nowadays text or email. But so anyway, to make a long story short, it flopped. I put it out in the world and I got crickets. One person expressed some interest, but no one actually ended up signing up for it. So needless to say, I was pretty crushed. I was pretty disappointed. But if I'm honest with myself, I was not really surprised. So that's why I stepped back, because I knew that I needed to really step away from all of the models of coaching that had always felt a little bit off to me, but which I had followed and invested in, and right, because those were the ones being promoted, right? And it was, I'm going to say this with all due respect to the people who were running them, because sometimes it was women, but more often it was men. It was a very patriarchal approach, right? Very sort of based on a fear of missing out, sort of a false sense of urgency. You have to sign up now because there's all this thing, and then there's all these bonuses that you're going to miss out if you don't do it. And so it, as someone who works with trauma, I understood that this was activating people's sympathetic nervous systems in a way that, it was happening to me. So I can't imagine what someone whose nervous system was not really stable, who maybe struggled with anxiety or perfectionism or even post-traumatic stress disorder, though that type of marketing always felt off to me, but I couldn't put my finger quite on what it was. So anyway, I stepped back, my month sabbatical has turned into about 8 months, 8.5 months now, because I realized I needed much more than a month in order to restore and rest, and really reevaluate who I was, what I wanted, and how I wanted to show up in the world. What was more aligned with my value system? And I also want to say that for me, and this goes back 15 years in the coaching realm, I always had a struggle with making my offers because of my own belief systems, my own stories, my own past life experience. I remember the first time I put an offer out in the world, I had this whole vision of being put in shackles in the town square, right? And being humiliated and called out as a charlatan and a witch right? So I definitely got the witch wound going on. So I always kind of pulled back when I was ready to launch. So there was this step on the gas, step on the brake kind of energy going on. And I understand the witch wound. I also stand as part of my being an empath. And also what I have discovered is part of my magic is my compassion. And so between the empathy and the compassion magic, I hated feeling pushy, right? I never wanted to be bothering people. I had a hard time, continuing to send out emails. I wanted to serve everybody. And I was afraid that if I, asked for what really would be a reasonable price in what I was putting out into the world, that I was gonna, not everybody was gonna be able to participate in that. And also I was afraid, and this goes back to the being in shackles thing, that people would think I was just doing this for the money, which is kind of laughable. Because even though I have supported myself as a psychotherapist, there's been no raise in the insurance industry for psychotherapists for the 28 years, maybe $1.36 here or there, but basically the idea of being in it for the money is so laughable, right? So, but that's the way my mind was working, right? People are going to think I'm in this for the wrong reasons, or, that I'm a charlatan and I can't really do what I claim to be able to do, and all of that kind of thing. So I needed this step back, right? I needed to rest. I needed to renew. I needed to reconnect with myself, and step back from that very masculine model of coaching and working that had totally exhausted me over the 15 years that I was engaging in that, alongside of having a full therapy practice, right? Not to mention going through, the end of my marriage, moving out on my own, opening a healing center, all of those things going on, while I'm also trying to get this coaching business going. So for the last 8 months, I've spent a lot of time resting. I actually released some clients who, were ready to be released. We were having nice chats, but we weren't really doing therapy. So I released some clients. I let go completely of anything having to do with trying to build my coaching business or putting offers into the world. And I just allowed myself to really rest and do the inner work as it was calling me. And, there were about 6 or 7 months where I really wasn't doing anything after I got back. Other than working and seeing my therapy clients, but nothing in regards to creating any more programming or anything in the coaching realm. From the time I got back from Peru until maybe the fall, maybe September, and I started to get interested. I just had no energy for it. I had no creativity flowing. It was just kind of flatlined, honestly. And then I eventually got called into a few short programs to participate in that had a much more feminine approach, right? Really honoring people's nervous systems, not marketing with some false sense of urgency or fear of missing out, not intentionally activating people to get them to buy, which is so not in alignment, right, with how I want to operate, but also understanding the neuro differences, right, in people, and how we bring our intuition and our inherent gifts into our work that feel so natural to us, but that we don't necessarily identify as being unique or special or particularly valuable. How we use our intuition, and how in a more feminine model, we really need more space for flow, right? We need space for rest. We need to move our bodies, to move energy, to allow new information to flow, and the importance of the mind and body being in alignment. There's more to that, but that's all I'll say about that for now. But I feel really blessed to have found or had a couple of programs. I found my way to them. They found me. That's how that works, right? Once the energy is in alignment, once I had stepped back and said, okay, that's not the model that I want anymore. I want something different. I want something more aligned with how I want to be putting my offerings into the world. And then I took a 3-week vacation, which I kind of, shared a little bit with you. That was wonderful, just relaxed, taken care of. My friends fed me. They housed me, they drove me around, they took me to beautiful places to go hiking, and, we laughed, and then I got to see my kids and do some beautiful spiritual work with Deanne Hampton in the mountains in North Carolina, and came home feeling really, really, really refreshed at the end of October. But once I got back, I sort of stepped into I did a couple before I left, and then a couple of other retreats right when I got back. Again, all with the emphasis more on understanding how to use this compassion magic and expression magic and all the different types of ways that I use energy work and light language, and really looking at how all of that could come together in a way that felt in alignment with how I want to be able to create my business. And the biggest piece of that was that I made the decision about 3 weeks ago, shortly after, or maybe it was just before I left for vacation. It was just before I left, to join a year-long modern day mystery school. Mystery schools have always called to me. They've interested me. I've always said I'd love to have lived at the time where they actually had mystery schools. And there were a few things that I'd looked at over the years that were, sort of more focused on the divine feminine, and might even have used the word mystery schools, but for one reason or another, or sacred circles or feminine circles, but for one reason or another, they didn't really call me in the way that this one did. So I've just committed to a year-long program in what's called the Kairos Healers Academy, and we follow the circle of the year. And I have to say, in the last couple of weeks, I feel more energized, more alive, more tuned in. My intuition, my light language, all of the all of the ways in which spirit, my channeled writing, all of the ways in which spirit works through me have really begun to blossom even more. And so yesterday, I had this idea that even though I always had a resistance to a Black Friday offering, mostly because I am not a shopper and the whole Black Friday thing is kind of a turn off to me. I don't even know what Black Friday actually means, except that it's a big shopping day. But I decided that it's a great opportunity to offer something at a discount. And I thought, well, there's so many people that I'd like to reach. And there are powerful healing techniques that I've been mastering that even in one session can shift a memory, because I've been more and more studying the brain science about this, and it's so powerful, and it makes what I had been doing before without fully understanding the brain science of it now is even amplified. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to stick my toe back in, to do some simple marketing, make an offer where I could serve a lot of people at a price point where a lot of people could take advantage of that. So that's what got me to making a Black Friday, but I changed the name to Blessed Friday because that just feels better to me. Offer. And that's what I was that I shared in the post, both on Instagram, Facebook, and actually just sent out as an email for all of you. So this is an opportunity. You have to sign up. There is some deadline because it is, a sale per se, and sales have to have an ending. So by the end of November, you can sign up, and the sessions will all be scheduled in the month of December. So I'm really opening my calendar, but I can't, open it to probably more than 20 or 25 people because I just don't have that kind of time, but I'm gonna open it as much as I possibly can. And this is a one-on-one session with me, 45-minute session, to bring one emotion, event, memory that you would like to shift, to discharge the negative emotional charge around it and create new neural pathways so that you can no longer be held in bondage or held hostage or imprisoned by the residual energy of something that may have happened 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 or even 40 or 50 or 60 years ago. Because you're not your story, you're not that history. It did happen, it's in the past. There's no need for it to continue to be presenting itself over and over and over again as an emotionally reactive charge in your body that may stop you from doing things, that may make you feel sick or uncomfortable, that might hold you back. Like my belief that I talked about before, that people were going to think I was a charlatan or I was just in it for the money, or they would get sick of me, making offers. I had to work through all of that stuff, honestly, so I could even be sitting here having this, well, it's not really a conversation, but sharing this with you. Because my fear was, oh my God, they're going to hear that I'm going to make an offer and then they're just going to go away and I'm never going to hear from them again, right? My abandonment issue's coming up. So I wanted to share that timeline. Again, because I think we're all experiencing opportunities to let go of what's not serving us anymore, what hasn't been serving us for so long, to really appreciate that as it's coming up, it's not like, oh, that again. It's, oh, that again. What still wants to be healed about that? Why is that coming up into my awareness right now? What's getting triggered in me, right? What unresolved trauma, what limiting belief, what fear is connected to that wants to be healed right now? So I'm going to leave that, all of that, with you for now to percolate on, and share the other piece because, oh, I have a Zoom in 10 minutes. So today I got my deck of oracle cards of the Divine Feminine. This deck is by Megan Watterson, and I loved her book on Mary Magdalene. And I was recently, actually through the Kairos Academy, made aware of this deck, which I had not seen before. And this is a guidebook for divine feminine archetypes. And so before I started this call, I blessed my new deck and I shuffled it up, and I asked for the message that would most like to come through for the group. And the card that I pulled is Sarah or Sarah La Kali, Queen of the Outsiders, which I just laughed at because I've always felt like an outsider. You know, I know a lot of people, I have a lot of connections, but I've never felt like I actually really fit in. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. So Sarah says, I have arrived. I am where I will always be, in love. So I love that message. The first part of this guidebook for each of these Divine Feminine Masters is sort of a little biography that I'm not going to go into because it's quite long. But there are 3 versions of Sarah that have been spoken about over the years. The one is that she was a charitable noblewoman who collected alms in the south of France at the beginning of the 1st century. And she had a vision that the female saints who were present at Jesus' death would arrive on those shores, right? Which we know that Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, did arrive in the south of France. The next legend was that Sarah actually arrived on the shores with Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, and Mary of Bethany as one of their slaves, that she was an Egyptian, very beautiful Egyptian enslaved woman endowed with healing powers. And the third legend is that Sarah is actually the daughter of Mary Magdalene and Jesus the Christ. And it was believed that when Mary Magdalene fled after the crucifixion, that she was pregnant with Sarah. So there's 3 legends, whichever one resonates with you. But now I'll just share. When your soul selects this card, Sarah La Kali, Queen of the Outsiders, this is what the message is. No matter who you are or where you are, Saint Sarah's love is the kind that reaches you. There's nothing you need to perfect or prove. There's nothing you need to wait to become. There's only the deep abiding truth that love is not outside of you. You are never an outsider to love. You are love. Saint Sarah is the ultimate love card, the one that whispers what you've always known, that love is our true purpose and our only true home. Love is where we will all arrive, no matter how persecuted, how lonely, how outcast we might feel, no matter how long it has been since we've felt loved. Saint Sarah is the healing that comes when we embody love again. She is here to welcome us back to the singular destination we actually never left. Home is only ever as far as we allow ourselves to be separate from the space of our own heart. I'm going to say that again. Home is only ever as far as we allow ourselves to be separate from the space of our own heart. And the soul voice meditation that accompanies this card, enter the heart. Ask to experience love, true love, and let it fill you head to soul. With an intention, I have arrived. I am where I will always be, in love. So that's the beautiful message from Sarah Lakhali, Queen of the Outsiders. And I especially resonated with the line, there's nothing you need to perfect or to prove. One of the things, there's nothing you need to wait to become. One of the things that came clear to me through these different retreats that I've been doing and diving into in the work with Deanne in the mountains in North Carolina was that I have had a certain proving energy, right? Can you relate to that? Like somehow I needed to prove that I was good at what I did, or I had the right credentials, or I needed the long bio, or, all the ways that we feel perhaps not good enough, and then we compensate for by overdoing, overproving. And that's something that I have recently become more aware of in myself, and I'm hoping to shift as I continue to step more deeply into this more divinely feminine inspired energy of allowing myself to be guided by spirit, to work when I feel the creative energy moving through me and not be pushing or forcing myself to do something because my ego mind is telling me, or someone else is telling me, and I'm buying into it, that that's what I need to be doing. So that was a little longer than I expected, which that happens to me a lot. Chatty Cathy back at your disposal. Anyway, I hope it was helpful. And please share your thoughts, your comments below. If you have any questions, if you are thinking about taking me up on the offer, the one-on-one offer for Blessed Friday, please don't wait. As I said, I only have so much room in my schedule to be able to accommodate people. So if you're thinking about it, I hope you just go ahead and jump in. And if you do, I'll see you there. If not, I'll see you wherever I see you. All right. Have a beautiful evening, everybody. Bye now.